Truth is, I thought it mattered. I thought that
money
mattered. But does it bollocks? Not compared to how people matter.
Welcome, Mansion and other fine folks, to the Someday Dispatch of the Black Letter, where we contemplate thoughts worth thinking as we try to navigate our way through the upside-down, topsy-turvy world we find ourselves in, seeking greener pastures on the other side, where we can come out healthier, wealthier, and wiser, living our best lives. That's the goal. And in order to do that, we need to understand what makes the best life. And these are just some random thoughts of a guy from Blabberlon. And anyway, hopefully you'll enjoy them. We've got a bit of a mixed bag today. I thought, the news is not changing. We're still within the pandemic. The economic uncertainty continues to roll out. And as you know, I continue to believe that things will worsen a little before they get better. I think there's still a little bit of hopium out there. Excessive hopium, I should say. Hope is always a good thing, but excessive hopium is not helpful in navigating appropriately. And I think we still need to get to that point to fully appreciate where we're at so we can move forward. But nevertheless, we're going to take a look at some battery tech on vehicles, the Tesla competitor here. We're also going to look at how veganism can help save the planet. If you're looking for other reasons to start adopting a more plant-based diet, this might be interesting to you. We can take a look at buying an airplane with Bitcoin, and we're going to look at some advertising in Hong Kong about the virtues of Bitcoin as well. So let's get to it. From Forbes, Lucid and Tesla battle on battery tech. Electric car battery ranges reach gas sedans like Honda Accord, and this is good news. I'm a huge fan of electric vehicles and self-driving vehicles, so hopefully one day, in my opinion, at least in most major cities, the joy of driving I have not found in probably a couple of decades now, honestly. Traffic is busy and difficult to really enjoy driving as one used to perhaps a while back. And of course, these self-driving vehicles are becoming safer and safer, and arguably will be much safer than humans when they get to that point. But regardless, I think electric vehicles are helpful. They're healthier to the planet as well, even if those are powered through coal-burning electrical grids, which are becoming rarer and rarer in any event. Nevertheless, here is Lucid and Tesla, the two biggest competitors at the moment. Lucid hasn't, to my knowledge, come out with a vehicle you can purchase yet, but this is supposed to be happening next year. And of course, Nikola, I think, is nothing more than a vaporware at the moment, so I'm not paying any attention to that. Lucid sedan gets EPA estimated 517 miles of range, fast charging 300 miles of range in 20 minutes. This is really quite an accomplishment, and things are getting better and better, quicker and quicker as well. I have an old Hyundai Elantra I drive at the moment, a 2005, and I'm hoping I can nurse it through until about 2025, or at least for another few years. I'd really like to have my next vehicle be an electric one, but there you have it. Lucid has gotten a lot of attention with the announcement of the Air Grand Touring sedan with an EPA estimated range of 517 miles, and 517 miles is around 832 kilometers, so that's a really decent battery range. That's important because it's in the neighborhood of the range of gas cars like the Honda Accord, and exceeds the range of the Tesla Model S Long Range Plus at 402 miles. Lucid is also talking about very fast charging, adding 300 miles of range in 20 minutes via a 350 kilowatt DC fast charger, which you can find today at Electrify America charging stations across the US. Now, this is great news, but there's a couple of little small issues which they do point out here. This is what the asterisk is for. Lucid, as they say down here, is going to be $139,000, which is probably, I want to hazard a guess, maybe between 4 and 5 times more expensive than comparable Honda Accord. So there's that issue. And then also, as they allude to here, the Electrify America charging stations are still few and far between in many places. Nevertheless, I believe, and I think the last I saw, Bloomberg research had seemed to suggest that electric vehicles could achieve cost parity with ICE vehicles, internal combustion engine vehicles, by 2025, I believe. So I think at that point, perhaps we'll be able to get a electric Honda Accord or equivalent for around the same price with around the same range, but it will be electric, and that will be terrific. I think then we'll see a real huge uptake of electric vehicles. Okay, as you know, I've been vegan for 30 years, just over 30 years now, and primarily for ethical reasons, but I have come to appreciate some of the other benefits, such as health and the impact that diet has on climate. And so I thought I would share this article with you, just another piece of research suggesting the benefits of a plant-based diet or vegan diet for the planet. Global veganism could undo 16 years of fossil fuel emissions. Going vegan could free up 7 million square kilometers of land and remove 16 years' worth of carbon dioxide emissions from the atmosphere. If land currently used to produce meat and dairy was returned to its native ecosystems, it could remove the same amount of carbon dioxide as was produced by burning fossil fuels over the last 16 years. I mean, it's quite a substantial increase, or savings, I should say. Restoring native forests could buy some much-needed time for countries to transition their energy grids to renewable fossil-free infrastructure, said Matthew Hayek, an assistant professor in New York University and the principal author of the new study. Livestock produces large amounts of methane, a greenhouse gas that is 28 times more powerful than carbon dioxide at trapping heat, as we know. But also, according to this new study, it shows that going meat-free can hugely impact carbon dioxide emissions as well. Look at that cute face. Cows are very, very sweet animals and very gentle as well. We only mapped areas where seeds could disperse naturally, growing and multiplying into dense biodiverse forests and other ecosystems that work to remove carbon dioxide for us, said Hayek. Our results have revealed over 7 million square kilometers where forests would be wet enough to regrow and thrive naturally, collectively an area the size of Russia. And of course, this doesn't require, I'm assuming, at least the way it sounds, it doesn't require human intervention to be planting those seeds. So that's good news as well. If meat consumption follows current economic trends, the business-as-usual diet would see further clearing of ecosystems to make more land space for animal agriculture. And I know some folks will poo-poo this and say, well, what about the fact that we need to grow more food if people become vegan? And that is true, but most of these areas here have been deforested just to plant soybeans and other crops that then get fed primarily to animals, which we then butcher to eat. So it's really not an efficient way of getting calories, for one thing. It's also a bit barbaric and inhumane. And for another thing, these are not areas that should have been used for agriculture anyway. And the amount of agriculture we would need to increase would be much smaller as well if we took out the middleman, which is the animals that we eat. It goes on to say the reduced meat diet could remove 332 gigatons of carbon dioxide, because that's what they did. They did a business-as-usual diet, and these are the possible scenarios for 2050, as you can see here, 3 possible scenarios. Business as usual, a healthier diet with 70% meat reduction, and a vegan diet. So business as usual continues to destroy the planet. Reduced meat diet could remove 332 gigatons of carbon dioxide. So you don't even have to go all the way vegan, you can just increase it, perhaps going vegan or plant-based 5 days a week. 6 days a week would make a tremendous difference, even 1 day a week. The vegan diet would remove 547 gigatons, and a gigaton is equivalent to 1 trillion kilograms, which is just astonishing. Of course, the links are in the description if you want to review these articles yourselves, to take a look at them. But there's some more good news as to why veganism or plant-based eating is healthier for us and healthier for the planet. Another interesting article here about Bitcoin cryptocurrency. This $40 million Gulfstream private jet can be bought using Bitcoin as aircraft sales firms attempt to lure international buyers. And you can take a look inside. So the Gulfstream, as many of you know, is sort of the businessman's, or the billionaire's really, private jet of choice. Nice looking aircraft as well. An aircraft sales firm is now accepting Bitcoin as a form of payment for its multi-million-dollar aircraft. Aviatrade just introduced a new payment platform enabling crypto transactions with the Gulfstream G650ER, that being extended range, as I learned, being the first plane available for purchase. The $40 million private jet is the current Gulfstream flagship with notable owners for the type, including Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk. So obviously you have to be a billionaire. But nevertheless, this is good news. But at the same time, what it's sort of suggesting to me is that, the wealthy are starting to become interested in cryptocurrency, and particularly Bitcoin. And of course, I would prefer to see that, the average person start buying a little bit of Bitcoin, $100 here or there, whenever they can, because we don't want it to become concentrated again in the hands of the wealthy, as perhaps our current system does with wealth anyway. But anyway, it's still interesting. It's starting to get more word out there about Bitcoin. I think it's starting to slowly become more and more embedded in the cultural milieu, if you will, of the zeitgeist. And so that's important for greater and wider adoption of Bitcoin probably in the next several years. The G650ER, as the American private jet manufacturer's current flagship has mentioned, has a 7,500 nautical mile range, which is pretty decent. The use of cryptocurrency has soared in developing countries with unreliable currency, and the wealthy are also turning to virtual wallets when making high-level purchases. So we have sort of the bifurcated adoption, I guess, of Bitcoin, if you can call it that, or cryptocurrency generally. The poor or the unbanked, or those in the developing nations, need something like this. They don't particularly have a choice, of course, and then the wealthy are using it as a hedge against inflation or a store of value. And of course, my goal here is to help, the average person start to understand Bitcoin and how it might be useful in their own portfolio, even if just a few percent. Of course, none of this is financial advice, but just giving you thoughts to think about, and hopefully you can make more rational and reasonable decisions for a greater future for yourself. Anyway, and of course, there's a whole bunch of images of it. It's a neat-looking plane. You can take a look at that if you want. Description in the link below. But I just thought another sort of check mark in the slow uptake of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in the general societal arena, if you will. Some more good news here. Bitcoin advocacy group splurges on Bitcoin ads across Hong Kong. Of course, we know we've had a recent, I don't want to call it a coup of Hong Kong, but the Chinese government has overtaken Hong Kong now, I think, which is several years too early from my understanding of the agreement that was in place. But nevertheless, that's not about this. This is about Bitcoin. You can see here on the tram, I think that is, be your own bank Bitcoin. So this is neat to see. Hong Kong continues to be a significant financial hub for the global economy. However, that's probably been eroded currently, as we know, of the difficulty between China and the United States. However, thanks to several factors, including influence from Greater China, there doesn't appear to be much in crypto adoption. And I'm not sure of the status currently in China for cryptocurrencies, but I think you might be able to hold them. I'm just not sure if you can use them. Anyway, of course, China, as we know, has a bunch of miners. In fact, if they all ganged up, they would be able to overtake the network with the 51% computing power difficulty problem, where those, if nefarious actors could gain control of the network with 51% of the hash rate computing power. Last I heard, China was at about 61%, so that's a bit of a concern. But of course, the way Bitcoin is set up is that it promotes and it helps to encourage people to do the right thing because they get rewarded better than if they try to undermine the actual blockchain. So I don't have a huge concern about that, but it's something to encourage Western democracies and other countries to start mining Bitcoin, in my opinion. Twitter published pictures of Bitcoin promoting ads from the Bitcoin Association of Hong Kong. This nonprofit promotes Bitcoin and digital assets in the region. So all these sorts of things I think I've mentioned before. It's the same with veganism, plant-based eating, if you will, cryptocurrencies, etc. Any sort of new asset or lifestyle choice has to be seen, I think, around 7 times or so before it starts to get widely accepted, not necessarily adopted, but sort of accepted as something legitimate. There's also HK Apple Daily's Bitcoin ads. These ads are just the second in a string of Bitcoin promotions that have propped up in Hong Kong within the past month. Late in August, a source on Reddit confirmed that Apple Daily, a top local news source, had run an ad promoting the leading cryptocurrency. The ad, which claimed that Bitcoin would not ditch you, featured on a full newspaper page. Unlike the recent ad spree, however, this one didn't display any company's colors. It's still unknown who paid for it. While it loosely mentions Genesis Block, a Hong Kong-based crypto firm, the ad doesn't even speak about any place where people can buy the assets. So that's, we take what we can, I suppose. It adds nobody can stop you from transacting on the network, and it cannot be shut down. Bitcoin is available to anyone, regardless of their nationality, gender, or beliefs. Bitcoin began with the Genesis block during the financial crisis of 2009. Now its time is coming. And of course, people who are really motivated and interested will be able to figure out how to buy Bitcoin in any event. But there you have it, some good news for Bitcoin. All right, on to the markets. Let's see how they're opening up today. Okay, so not surprising, we've had a few low days. And now, of course, we're bouncing right back up. These are quite strong openings, so I imagine this will continue on into the rest of the day. We'll have probably a green day today. NASDAQ up almost 2% already, you can see, and it's only been open, I think, about a half hour or an hour, officially, I guess. And Dow and S&P both up over 1%. So that means probably Bitcoin will be up too, and gold and silver, potentially. Well, let's see, gold and silver might still be consolidating. Okay, so yeah, gold inching up a little bit, but still consolidating within that 1900 to around, I want to say 2000 range, but really currently right now it's between 1900 and 1975 seems to be the consolidation range at the moment. And of course, I'm expecting this to be heading upwards at some point, perhaps prior to election, maybe post-election. I think post-election, we're going to see a whole bunch of different things starting to happen, regardless of who gets in my opinion. And when I say things happening, I think we'll start to see bigger corrections, perhaps a crash coming in the next 6 months or so after the election results. And gold will probably start moving up at that point, and silver as well. And potentially we could start seeing Bitcoin start its run up towards perhaps six figures, which, it seems to be it will reach by the end of next year, December of 2021, according to the stock to flow model in any event. Who knows? I'm long-term hodler, as they say, so it doesn't matter to me when Bitcoin gets there or where or how it gets there, or even if it goes down. Of course, that's just another buying opportunity. Let's check out silver. Okay, silver is still holding up 50% year to date, also on the upswing a little bit, and consolidating between around $26 and $28. So as long as it keeps above 26, that's good news. If it drops below, then it's potentially heading towards 24 and change, where it seems to be a next little bit of support. Okay, this is quite a strong start already, 2.7% up for the last 24 hours on the cryptocurrencies, $353 billion market cap. So we're over 350 billion now, 5,885 coins for your purchase and pleasure. And of course, here we can see a lot of green across the board, especially in the 24-hour column. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin up more than Ethereum, interestingly, and more than XRP. Polkadot continues to do quite well. It's already now in number 5 position, which is phenomenal. I own a little bit of Polkadot. As you know, I bought 25 Polkadot coins, so I'm not a big spender, of course, because I don't have a lot of money. But what I can squirrel away, I put into these little pieces. But of course, even still, Bitcoin is around 80% or so of my current portfolio into the cryptocurrency space. There's Chainlink down a little bit. I also bought a little bit of Chainlink yesterday, about $100 worth. Bitcoin Cash up, Litecoin, everything's up pretty much. Cardano up 1.4%. I also bought a little bit of Tezos as well, about $100 worth. Stellar as well, as you know, I own. And then what was the other one I bought? I don't think it was Cardano, it was VeChain, there we go. So NEM up 5%, VeChain up 2.5%, so that's not too bad. And I thought there was another one I bought. I'm not sure. VeChain, and then there was Tezos and Chainlink and Polkadot, and I thought there was one more. I can't remember now anyway. But there you have it, folks. Markets doing well generally, at least the stock market and the cryptocurrency market. Now on to today's question for the online oracle. So as you know, the first article we looked at was this article from Lucid and battery tech, and they're getting 517 miles of range allegedly, with fast charging of 300 miles in 20 minutes, which is just phenomenal. So I thought that would make a great question for the online oracle. Will electric vehicles achieve cost parity by 2025? As you know, I've spoken about that. And I believe from Bloomberg, I think it was, where I read the article, that their research seemed to indicate that 2025 seems to be the changeover point where an equivalent electric vehicle will cost the same as an ICE vehicle. I believe that will happen. Let's see what the 8-ball economist, our trusty sidekick, seems to think. Without a doubt. So that's a fairly strong positive outlook from the online oracle. I seem to agree as well. Be interested to see your thoughts, if you think that is something possible to be achievable by 2025. I mean, that's still 4.5 years away, and I think it's quite possible. Of course, Tesla is coming out with Battery Day information, I think, on September 22nd, which I think is next week sometime. So that could be interesting, see if there's any news there. We're expecting, I think, a 1,000,000-mile battery, which is just tremendous. There you have it, folks. Thanks so much for joining me. I appreciate you, and I hope you're doing well. The start of the week here on Monday, we'll take a look at the earnings reports that we can expect this coming week. Not much on the agenda so far. Of course, the Fed is coming out with a meeting. I think on Wednesday we'll have the jobs report on Thursday, and the unemployment job claims, and we'll see how those are doing. So it's probably going to end up being a bit of a green week, which will be helpful for me because of my debit spreads that are expiring this week and next week, although these ones this week will probably be losers. Nevertheless, there you go. Can't win without taking a bit of risk. Thanks so much, and take care of each other and yourselves. Stay healthy, peaceful, and compassionate out there. And remember, above all else, dum spiro, sparrow.